the tape, bro. Run 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 the tape, run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We doing a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape. Shut up and grind. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro.
Shut up.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You like that? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Tuesday evening. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight, as per usual. Dan Lanning and Marcus Freeman both comment on the biggest story in college football this offseason, the Nico Iamaleava news out of Tennessee. Nailed it finally. Only took a year and a half. Only took massive 3 days in a row talking about Nico Iamaleava, but we have nailed the name pronunciation.
1 for 1 tonight.
1 for 1 tonight. We'll probably flub up at some point. Arch Manning, per one of the most prominent names in college football media, apparently playing a villain role this year. We'll talk about that tonight. Ole Miss picks up another quarterback in the transfer portal. We'll give you guys a spring portal preview as well. Colorado, the Buffaloes in the news tonight as well. And there's a spicy report out of Chapel Hill and the UNC Tar Heels regarding Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend. So we'll talk about that tonight. Is she 24 or 22?
Yes.
24. 24-year-old girlfriend. But I want to start tonight's conversation or tonight's show with continuing our discussion on, like I said, the biggest sports topic, or at least topic in the sport today, which is obviously Nico Iamaleava. And boys, the market is tanking. I'm talking about worse than tariffs tanking. This market is going through the basement floor right about now with regards to Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah, and it's kind of unsurprising based on everything we talked about yesterday of how it seems like all indications were college coaches are kind of saying, you know, not collectively, but just saying this is where we're drawing the line here. We're not going to pay this absorbent amount of money just for one player. We're not going to break the bank to do this. We're not going to set this precedent. So it kind of makes sense that you have all these schools kind of backing off now.
And just to recap where we're at here, UNC said no yesterday, took a left-handed transfer quarterback out of South Alabama. Tulane has apparently moved out of the sweepstakes. Now, there's some conflicting reporting here with the Tulane sweepstakes. I saw a local Tulane B reporter. It looks like he works for a local news station, essentially saying that they got to the $4 million, that the discussions went sideways when I guess Nico's dad started making demands on the coaching staff. Now, here's what I'm going to say about this. If you think Tulane has $4 million to pay a transfer quarterback 4 months after letting Mensa, their starting quarterback, leave to go to Duke for $4 million over 2 years, well, I got oceanfront property in Kansas to sell you. Like I don't necessarily believe this. I don't believe that Tulane have $4 million to pay Nico Iamaleava, that it went sideways over the dad making high demands. So I don't necessarily believe that reporting. Either way, Tulane out of the mix. Do you believe that Tulane have $4 million for a quarterback?
No.
They have $4 million for a quarterback. Are you like me that they would have paid Mensa to stay?
Yes.
Tulane maybe had $4 million to give their roster collectively.
I think they got more than that. There's a Fortune 500 company CEO that apparently is doing the old Yellowwood approach, where he's giving money to LSU and giving money to Tulane out in the New Orleans area.
Wow.
It's a New Orleans billionaire. Very similar to what Yellowwood does in the state of Alabama. He gives a shitload of money to Auburn, but just so people don't get too mad at him in the state, also gives money to Alabama, just not as at a higher rate. I think it's the same thing going on down there in that area of the country from what the reporting that I have read. However, I don't believe it. I don't believe Tulane's got $4 million for a quarterback. If they did, Damian Mensa would still be on the roster, in my opinion. So I think at this point, guys, like you mentioned, I think we've gotten to the point now where college football coaches will never admit to this, but I think there's been some, I'm not going to say blackballing, but I think there's been some collective bargaining going on, even to the point where I saw reports today that there are, some discussions around some of these bigger football teams that, hey, we'll talk to you. We'll talk about signing you if you come down to $1 million. We're not going to be out here for this $4 million signing bonus or price tag. And even if he's not being blackballed by Power 5 schools right now, Nico, I do think there's some colluding going on. I think there's some, hey, we're all going to get in on this at $1 million. We're not getting in on this at $4 million, right? And they have to collectively talk about that, because it'd be an arms race if all these teams are actually interested, right? If the Notre Dames of the world are really interested, if the UNCs of the world are really interested, right? If the Ohio States, Oregons, if these teams are interested at $1 million, then they'd be interested at 1.2. They'd be interested at 1.5. Then all of a sudden we're talking about 2.5. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There would be an escalating market if there's a collectively bargained market at $1 million. There's a lot more teams interested, I would imagine.
I think the biggest thing too, though, is the fact that multiple teams have came out and said that they're no longer in the race with Nico, that they're no longer interested. And the fact that Tulane is now one of these schools that says, hey, we're not getting in the mix here, like we're just going to move on from this one. It's less and less leverage that Nico has in all of this. I mean, he didn't have leverage to begin with after he had to leave Tennessee, but your options are dwindling very quickly. So even if there is now a Power 4 school, like if one of these other, like a UCLA now, if they are the school that Nico ends up transferring to, I mean, this is like, they could easily say like, well, we're really the only big school that's interested in you. So you can either take our offer or you can go play for a lesser than Tulane in a G5.
Yeah, the roles have been reversed, whereas, most of the time in the college football world lately, recruits and players can name their price, and it's kind of, well, we really, really need you on our team. We're going to pay that. Now it's the opposite way around, where the teams are going to name their price, and it's, hey, buddy, we're basically your only option now. You got, blacklisted by your own team. No one else really wants anything to do with you because of that, because I think every coach sees the opportunity to kind of stop this madness of donor fatigue of players coming in. So I doubt that there's coaches out there there's probably plenty of coaches out there that would love to have Nico, but there's not anyone that would say, you know what, to do what we have to do to set the precedent that this can continue. Obviously, they're taking advantage of that.
I do think we have to, if we're not going to get a settlement on House First Rev NCAA, and if we're not going to have actual power with Deloitte, right? If those things happen, this next point I'm about to make doesn't even matter. But until that happens, until we actually have regulation on the NIL front, I do think it would behoove these coaches to start to actually govern themselves again. I think that's one of the best hidden known or lesser known secrets about the world of college football, that prior to NIL, obviously, everybody knows that players were getting paid. They've been getting paid forever. You just didn't know about it publicly. There wasn't an On3 to let you know how much cash a 5-star got to go to the school. Now you get this estimation, right? Now you get agents that are involved. Now you get reporting around these contracts, and there's hearsay about how much a player is making. But used to, it was all cash payments, right? I don't know where I was going with that, but nonetheless, I totally spaced out thinking about where we're going next with our segments. But I do think prior to, I know what I was going to say. Under the cash payments, they regulated themselves. Okay, I had a football coach explain it to me as the Autobahn. All right, like, hey, you're allowed to drive as fast as you want, but if you're out here driving 155, like we're going to have to go down and tell you to slow down, right? A prime example of this was in the SEC. They would govern themselves tremendously, and then all of a sudden, when an Ole Miss pops up, and it's like, hey, we're all competing for Laquan Treadwell at $250,000 in cash, and then all of a sudden $500,000 gets dropped off. We can't be having that. We also can't be having that when it also happens to Robert Nkemdiche and Laramie Tunsil in like a 3-month span. We can't be having that. We got to slow that down. They got to get back to this self-governing themselves. That's repetitive, but getting back to self-governing.
But part of the self-governing relied on the fact that you could turn these coaches into a governing body that would then punish them. Mm-hmm. I mean, if the Deloitte's not going to...
Even the turning in Kirby was a little bit tricky back in the day. You couldn't turn them in for cash payments. You had to turn them in for, maybe hookers on the cell phone there, Hugh, or escorts, I should say. That's the proper term.
Ladies of the night.
Ladies of the night. You had to get them for that. You had to get them for improper benefits that were traceable. You couldn't get them for, hey, coach, hey, NCAA, I think he dropped off $400,000 in cash.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it would have to be the other stuff to self-govern this way. But I'm with you. To self-govern, you would have to all be under the assumption that we're going to somewhat play by the rules, which we know, based off the last 3 years of college football, ain't none of these SOBs playing by the rules.
It's not even the playing by the rules thing. It's someone enforcing the rules when you self-govern. Like, I love the idea of the self-governing, and I think this is the best example of coaches doing it, where they're basically saying, yeah, no, we're not going to sign you. You're basically shit out of luck as far as getting on a roster goes. But when it comes to enforcing these, like the whole Tennessee thing, Tennessee, obviously the McDonald's story, at the end of the day, it was the NCAA that was the one to give these sanctions down, to give them all the punishments for that. If there's not a Deloitte or anyone that can effectively do that, I mean, anytime the NCAA tries to enforce a rule right now, they get sued into oblivion.
Yeah.
So, the self-governing is great, but the reality is, like, unless you're going to be able to have an enforcement policy for it, I don't know how you're going to do it.
You got anything?
No.
All right. Well, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Any more thoughts on the Nico story? Just how... Oh, I know. Is this the worst PR catastrophe you've ever seen in real life?
Based on business decisions alone, yes. Obviously, there's outside stuff and personal choices you can make.
We've gone from being the hope of an entire, one of the biggest college football fan bases in the world. It's like a top 5 fan base in terms of the number of people that support you. Making $2.5 million to Tulane doesn't want me, and I might sign for $1 million. That is the worst PR catastrophe I've seen. And by the way, in a matter of 5 days. This happened so quick. This is a PR nightmare straight out of a movie. This doesn't even seem like real life. I think this is a worse PR nightmare than when the Cleveland Browns found out none of Bo Callahan's teammates showed up for his birthday party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is worse of a PR nightmare than finding out that the Gridiron Gang quarterback Leon Hayes never actually played quarterback. He only played Madden.
It's a good movie.
This is a worse PR nightmare than finding out that the statistics for Globodyne indicated that they were a Ponzi scheme.
I don't get that one.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
You lost me there.
But I think this is a worse PR nightmare than when Paul Crewe was accused of point shaving and got sent to prison.
Ooh, point shaving ain't good, Paul.
Or better yet, it might be a worse PR nightmare than when Ricky Bobby had the yip so bad he envisioned fire on him and ran around in his underwear.
Honestly, this is a worse PR nightmare than finding out Ricky Bobby's legs actually worked.
Don't you put that evil on me.
I don't even know if that was a PR nightmare. That was more of a physical nightmare.
Yeah.
He stabbed himself in the leg. I didn't do any of the movie references here.
Boo!
Too good.
Boo!
Too good.
No.
Well, I got one more. This is a worse PR move since I've seen Jamal Jeffries moon a fan base and then have to cross-dress to win a WNBA championship.
That's a deep cut as well. Joanna, man.
I love you, Joanna!
All right, so instead of doing niche
Even
movie,
though you're a man.
instead of doing niche movie references, I rewrote the book.
Oh.
If you give a mouse a cookie, and fit Nico's name into it. I think we all.
You rewrote a child's book instead of
It's perfect.
making jokes.
The entire thing is a joke, dude.
Let's hear it. This actually is way more creative than what we just did. Let's hear this.
I was gonna say, just rattling off movie references.
AI.
No, it was not AI. You asshole. No, it wasn't AI.
Okay,
All right.
Dylan.
If you give a Nico an offer, he is going to want a private jet. When you give him a private jet, he's going to want $1 million a year. When he gets his $1 million, he'll say, you know what's better than $1 million a year? $2 million a year. When he gets $2 million a year, he will then commit to your school and play well as a freshman in a bowl game. When he plays well as a freshman, he will want a raise as the team starter.
Hell yeah.
When he gets that raise for being the team starter, he will throw for 2,600 yards and help your team make the college football playoff. When he makes a college football playoff, he will then demand another raise and threaten to hold out if you don't pay him ahead of the playoff game. When you do play him, he will play in the college football playoff game where he'll get his helmet bashed in. After he gets his helmet bashed into smithereens in the college football playoff, chances are he is going to demand you give him more money.
Yeah.
It just keeps going on, and the cycle goes back to he wants more money.
I don't remember a mouse and a cookie.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Now that you did that, I don't quite remember it. It's definitely AI.
It was not AI.
Definitely
I
AI.
promise it was not AI.
Okay.
Okay. Dylan Raiola. Okay.
Bruh. It's too recent for AI to pick up on it.
Catastrophic mistakes.
Disgusting, honestly.
He's going to end up at UNC for $750K.
You still think he could end up at UNC?
I don't know. I don't know where he's going to go.
I think that's one of
Do
the
you
more
think Bill
scary.
Belichick wants to coach that kid?
Mm.
I don't know. I do think it is one of the more scarier things about this.
I got some things about Bill Belichick at the end of this show that will make your head spin.
I do think that is one of the scary things about this. If you are Nico, is like when he first got into the portal, at least there was like, hey, these teams probably going to be interested. Like these teams are going to be fighting for this player. And now that two of them have backed out of it, it's like we don't know where he's
UCLA
going.
Suspiciously quiet.
Yeah,
Haven't heard anything about that out of there at all.
UCLA has been suspiciously quiet for like 10 years.
That's fair. Since Rosen's
Since
hot
Josh
tub.
Rosen, like
Since Rosen's hot tub.
Josh Rosen might be the next best example of a bad PR nightmare.
well,
Yeah. The hot tub incident.
Hot
and then
tub,
just,
and then saying, like-
just not playing well
And then
the
saying,
last
like-
3 years of college.
Yeah, and then being like, well, I don't remember what it was, like 12 teams made the biggest mistake.
Yeah.
the
No,
poor
they
head
didn't.
coach not being able to do his speech at media days.
Yeah, no, they didn't, dude.
Ah,
Yeah, UCLA's been on a tough run. I think they're like, you know what, we're going to sit this Nico one out. We've been taking some PRLs right now.
We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. If you have not already subscribed to the platform, please feel free to do so. I see the numbers on YouTube are relatively decent right about now. Make sure you're firing off in that chat, okay? Rules are Super Chubs go up on the board north of $20. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button if you miss any portion of tonight's broadcast. It will be made readily available, however, wherever you get your podcasts. No business to take care of tonight. We done cashed the check, so we're good on that one, so we can keep it pushing on there. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like I said, and make sure you are subscribing. Boys, let's continue the portal conversations here. All these coaches are being asked about this Nico story, obviously, and all of them have had a very staunched opinion about it. It's honestly a little bit what makes me believe there is a little bit of collusion going on here. There has been a very forthcoming, unified statement of if you want to hold out, you can get out. I mean, it's almost felt like a core, a coordinated message from a lot of these college football coaches around the country. Ain't heard a lot of go get your money, son, opinions from college football coaches across the country. And this one kind of aligns with that, right? This one comes straight from Dan Lanning on Bussin' with the Boys. Quote, how many snaps am I going to play for Oregon next year? 0. It doesn't matter what I know. It's about what your players know and what they can execute. There's a lot of negatives around what people talk about, like the portal and how that exists. The truth is the portal is revealing a lot of character of programs, right? And here you have a relationship with your coach. There's connection. You feel like you can talk to this guy about stuff beyond football, right? And I think that relationship is really important. It's not coach-player, right? It's coach-player, and that's the guy that has to go execute. That means he has to love the guy that he's playing for. He's got to believe in what we're doing. Now, a lot of that is coach speaking. I do appreciate the comment about how this is revealing a lot of character in programs. Now, Tennessee has been in the storylines the last week about NIL and portal and stuff like that. Now, I do want to apply this with a microscope to Tennessee a little bit. The number one thing that is said about Josh Heupel from his players is that he is a player's coach. Okay, he is a guy that loves on his players. He's a player himself, right? A former a quarterback at Oklahoma, didn't play very high level at the NFL level, got immediately into coaching immediately. But coaches from a player first perspective. I'm going to ask you guys, do you think being a player-led coach, a player-based coach, do you think that has types of blowbacks on the business end? Because this guy, I mean, let's be honest. He got held hostage in December, all right? He got held hostage again and finally put his foot down this spring on this stuff. But some of these other coaches are much more known for being hard-nosed approach, right? Like, for example, we don't even have to do it just on Tennessee. Look at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer got held hostage by Jalen Mbakwe for about 36 hours. Okay? We don't see as much of this public backlash at programs like, for example, Georgia. And we didn't see this happen to Nick Saban. If it happened, it happened behind closed doors and it was quiet. Or am I stretching here?
I think
I'm okay if you tell me I'm stretching.
I think it's a stretch. I think the reality of it is that just because you're a player-led coach doesn't mean it. Obviously, like players think, "Oh, I can, take advantage of the business."
I can push this guy around a little bit.
I mean, we've seen Georgia players, dip their toe into the portal and quote unquote held them hostage. Yeah. To be fair, like the Nico Iamaleava situation is unlike anything we've ever seen before. I don't think it has to do with the fact that Josh Heupel's a player-led coach. I mean, we saw Nick Saban have guys into the portal and then come back and things like that. Like, there's been numerous occasions where coaches, depending on either if they're, the most hard-nosed, this is how we do it, business-like only, or, hey, pat you on the back, players-led coach. I don't think that really has an effect. I think it's more the philosophy in which you go about recruiting players.
Yeah.
They went and got Nico Iamaleava because they paid him X amount of dollars. They flew him out on a private jet. They showed him all the high life things. Like, it seemed more about the dollar sign than it was about the T, and this is the brand you're going to play for. This is what happens when you come here. You're going to play for championships. Like, all the things that you've seen some of the other schools do that tend to have success. Like, if you recruit a player based on dollar signs, it's not a surprise when they hold you hostage for dollar signs.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say no. I would like to think that if you are a player-led coach, that maybe this would keep these types of situations from happening, because I feel like you would have more respect for the person that you're playing for because you do have this connection and you do have this bond with somebody. I just think that this is just what college football has kind of turned into, because it does happen at multiple programs. But what made this one so unique is that he skipped out on practice. He tried to big league everybody, and then you have to do something at that point.
Apparently, Jake Garcia did the same thing this morning in East Carolina. Got sent packing.
He did show up to practice.
He no-showed practice.
Because he wanted money?
No, because he was going into the portal anyways, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I guess. And just no-showed. And they were like, all right, well, send the paperwork.
Go ahead.
That kind of thing. That is 7 schools in 4 years for Jake Garcia, by the way. For those of you who don't remember him, he was a 4-star recruit originally out of California, moved to Valdosta High School. ESPN wrote an article about his parents faking a divorce. GHSA was like, wait a minute, he did what? He's not allowed to play at Valdosta. And then he transferred up to Grayson. So that's 3 high schools in less than 8 months. Okay. Then goes to Miami out of high school, then transfers to Missouri, then transfers to East Carolina, and now he's transferring again. It's been a lot for that young man.
I just want to know,
what bags is he chasing? There's nothing left.
He's chasing them, dude.
I want to know how
he's getting them.
I want to know how you go from playing high school football in California to, hey, let's go to Valdosta, Georgia.
COVID. They weren't playing out in California.
Okay.
And so they literally faked a divorce. Dad moved over here. It wasn't faked. It was on paper. But mom moved over here too. They ended up writing in an article about it. I remember the article getting written and reading it going, oh my God, they just exposed this kid. Because they told the tricks to get over here to get eligibility. And now there's a rule in GHSA, you can't be out here faking divorces.
Say what you want, but I call that supportive parenting.
I call that dedication to the cause.
That's right. They're down.
Yeah.
The parents are down, bro.
Big time.
We're
down.
Gonna fake a divorce so my son can play in Georgia, baby.
Sorry for diverting the conversation that drastically. these Dan Lanning quotes, right? This whole idea about the transfer portal exposing character within programs. I think what he's talking about, at least referring to his program, is we got good retention. We got relationships with our players, so much so that our players don't leave here. Once we bring them in here, our players don't want to leave because of all of the relationships that we have built. I think that's really, really awesome. And I think it's awesome and refreshing to hear a college football coach give a different spin other than the world sucks right now, we need correction. However, I think it's really easy to say this when you're a have, and a very clear, obvious have. Like, you might be the biggest haver of all havers in college football right now, considering you're recruiting resources and things that are made available to you. I could not imagine how these quotes read to like an Oregon State, a non-haver, right? A have-not. A have-not hears this and says, what does me having a great starter for 2 years leave my program? What does that say negatively about my culture? It doesn't say anything negatively about me. It says that you have more money than I do when you steal my players. So there's that. But I do appreciate that he's not bitching, moaning, and complaining about this, because every coach right now is bitching, moaning, and complaining for good reason. We bitch and moan and complain on this network. I think we went relatively viral yesterday, very loudly bitching about the nature of college football. Mm-hmm. So, any other thoughts on the Dan quote?
I think, like you said, I think it's a good quote to have in college football. It's nice to see that there is optimism, that there is positivity around the sport, but it is also coming from a place, like you said, of I don't want to say privilege, but it is, because Oregon is one of these schools that can kind of
do whatever they want,
foot the bill for any player they want. They're not going to be financially burdened by most situations that these smaller schools would. Louisville doesn't have the same bag. Like Louisville, like pick any school that's not regularly competing for championships. So I get it.
I mean, I will say that Kirby Smart said recently, too, that he still believes in the relationship when it comes to recruiting and having a relation. He said that he still thinks that plays a big role in a player's recruitment and whatnot. So, and again, this could just be Georgia's not the best example in this conversation, because they certainly fit into this mold of they compete for national titles. They are certainly a have. But I mean, it does seem like that there are multiple coaches in college football that still really emphasize the relationship with their players.
Got to. I think it'll be you still have that on the NFL level. Like, whether or not the guy wants to play hard for you is important no matter what. Have you read this Bill Belichick story?
Mm-hmm. I skimmed it, but I didn't read the full thing.
All right. So this is a little segment we love around here. It's called Brooks Reads So You Don't Have To. This was an article released in, are we calling this the New York Times, or are we calling this the Athletic?
Call it the Athletic.
It was under the New York Times URL, though.
I mean, the New York Times is the parent company that branches off into the Athletic.
So the New York Times bought the Athletic, but it's still the Athletic under the New York Times umbrella, which is owned by Bezos. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Interesting.
I mean, the media companies just keep going up and up and up. Like USA Today is owned by Gannett. It's an interweb.
Rivals is owned by Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
24/7 is owned by CBS, who's owned by Paramount.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sports Illustrated is owned by ABG. We get it. We know the industry. We know ball and the industry. How about that? But The Athletic had an article today. My man Matt Baker is the writer. Here's how this worked. Matt Baker, y'all remember them tweets a month back of Bill Belichick's girlfriend demanding that she be CC'd on every email? Do y'all remember that story coming out?
Yes, vaguely.
All right, so when that came out, my man Matt Baker had the brilliant idea, something that I would never do, but had the brilliant idea to submit a public request record for the emails referenced in the story. I want all of the emails from Miss Hudson to all of the UNC employees and their school email accounts.
Shout out for you.
Shout out to just real hardcore journo right here. This is hardcore journalism, okay? First and foremost, I want to say this. This is the only type of shit that a head football coach in college that has never been in the college football world ever runs into, okay? Because the idea that a local media reporter can summon my email request records because I work for a public university, that idea never crossed the mind of Bill Belichick. Ever, ever, ever. Because why? He's never been around college football. He's never thought to think that, hey, if I use company emails for the Patriots, that somebody's going to summon my request records publicly and can get them within like 36 hours. So that's what happened. We have 44 pages of emails from Miss Hudson and UNC employees. So that's the first thing that caught my mind. Oh, this is our first, you ain't used to this college football stuff because you would have been out here communicating under an area where they can't summon your records. So here's what was revealed in these 44 pages worth of emails. It seems to me that Bill Belichick's girlfriend, who's given a title of Chief Operating Officer of Bill Belichick Productions, which is a company that doesn't have any type of LLC or doesn't have any type of track record or doesn't have any type of business at all. Long story short, she's the CEO of Bill Belichick Productions, which doesn't exist. It's a made-up title.
Yeah.
She's the CEO of a made-up title of a made-up company. And from my understanding of reading this reporting, she might as well be the chief media officer at UNC right about now. Okay, she's not a UNC employee, but it's very clear to me that we don't even have to label her the chief media officer. We can label her the narrative driver. Her job is to make sure the narrative about Bill Belichick, and particularly Steve Belichick, is controlled properly. This comes directly from the report today from The Athletic or yesterday. For example, this email was sent by Hudson back in December. Quote, though Steve Belichick is in fact Bill's son, he should be depicted and represented as his own established, credible entity as opposed to an extension of Bill. It can be easily misinterpreted that Steve is simply benefiting from nepotism, but that is not the case. Steve was fortunate to have learned defensive football strategy from the, quote, greatest defensive mind of all time. He has earned his position due to his performance and output. I love the, hey, it can be very easy to fall into a nepotistic track right here with Steve. But Steve has learned from the greatest defensive mind of all time. Don't tell people that greatest defensive mind of all time is so happened to be his dad.
I mean, to be honest, though, I would say Bill's not doing anything that nobody else wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Like, if your son was already a defensive coordinator, was a college football coach, and you become a head football coach at a college football program, I feel like majority of people will be like, yeah, son, come on and coach with me. Like,
correct.
So like, I really feel like they're trying to hide something that's really not that big of a deal.
I think they're trying to hide it because of the fact that Steve will eventually be the head coach.
Correct.
Okay.
So they want to bury the nepotistic lead as much as they humanly possibly can. I don't find that weird. What I find weird is this next detail.
Oh.
There's an email from Hudson and Belichick, CC'd, that directs the social media team and directs every UNC employee to refrain from taking photos of Steve and Bill together.
Huh.
Also, even weirder, I can't tell you again, I can't point to it enough. Hey, there's another Belichick son on the staff. He's coaching DBs, and nobody says a damn word.
The forgotten child.
The forgotten child.
Poor guy.
Absolutely forgotten child. Also, I don't find this weird. I find this to make sense. But there's also emails from her and from Belichick telling the social media team, you need to be checking under every single tweet we have and deleting any response that makes fun of our age gap or calls the head coach a predator or points to anything negative about our relationship.
Oh, they got a lot of work to do.
They got a lot of work to do.
But I mean, I get that too.
I do too.
Like it's the reality is like you don't want the narrative to simply like that distract you from what you're trying to build as a football program. So
she also apparently sent off trademark requests for some cheesy ass phrases. Do you want to hear some of them?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Chapel Bill, trademarked. It's theirs.
Honestly, not cheesy.
The Bellustrator.
That's a little cheesy.
What?
I don't even
don't know why. Spell with an E as well. B-E-L-E.
The Bellustrator.
Bellustrator. Spelled improperly to his name. The Belichick way. Trademarked. Can't use it.
Put it on a t-shirt, baby.
I hope I don't have to send royalties for these 3,000 impressions that we're going to do tonight. Actually, we're tracking for about 6, but
not that cheesy.
I have no idea what to make of this story other than the fact that the girlfriend seems to be rather controlling, or at least he is allowing her to be rather controlling and rather involved in the mix. I'm a little bit weirded out by it.
She's 24.
Yeah, I'm a little bit weirded out about it.
Our
The fact that she's 6 years younger than me, dating a 72-year-old man. That's a little bit weird to me, obviously, but that goes without saying. But the weirdest thing to me is the fact that this is her resume. Here's her resume. You ready for her resume? She spent 1 year as a social media consultant with a company called Rebel Athletic. And this was in the article. This is her resume. These are the 2 bullet points for her qualifications for controlling the media department at UNC football. 1 year as a social media consultant for Rebel Athletic. Never heard of the company. 81,000 followers on Instagram. And she dates Bill Belichick. You would have to imagine there are employees that were there still from the Mac Brown era, and they probably have ways about going and doing their business. And then all of a sudden, this 24-year-old woman who dates the new boss walks in with, hey, this is how we did it under my account that has 81,000 followers on Instagram. What are your qualifications for this role? You see what I'm saying? It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, as a current person that works there, it would definitely rub me the wrong way and everything. But I mean,
you ain't gonna say shit about it.
If this girl was 45 years old, would this be a story?
No.
I think that the age gap is what's really...
I also think if she was 45 years old, Kirby, she'd be sitting at the house like every other coach's wife, and you wouldn't hear about her.
I say, go get a damn hobby.
Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, I think that we get so caught up in the age gap of the UNC, and I get it. It is kind of interesting to look at and be like, that's interesting. Like, she's our age. She's dating Bill Belichick. That's weird. I acknowledge that, but I also think, like, I feel like we let that do the driving of all the stories there. I don't know.
You don't think it would be weird if Kirby Smart's wife was like around the program all the time, like making decisions?
I think it'd be.
It doesn't even have to be about a 24-year-old girlfriend. That makes it twice as weird.
Well, here's why.
But the idea that she's this heavily involved, no other significant other that I see is this heavily involved.
It's interesting that's a significant other, but every program has a person that's
doing these things,
telling the media what to say, telling them what to publish, telling them what they can and can't do. Now the parameters are a little weird. No pictures with Steve and like that stuff's interesting, but like it seems like it's fairly normal, except the caveats of it are the age gap and the Steve Belichick story. Like I don't know. It's not as pearl clutching to me as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird to me just because of what they're trying to censor or all these other things. Like, I think that part is weird. Like, I understand that you want to have some type of control over the program and you want to moderate things and you want to have a certain narrative steering what your program is and who your head coach is and whatnot. But the fact that it is his significant other and that you don't want pictures with his son and then you want to trademark these things and like, I don't know. It is weird to me. But maybe it's just weird because we know about this one, but I'm sure if we heard about some of the other things that these programs are doing, we'd probably find those really weird too.
Yeah, there's that Brian Harsin story.
That did come to mind.
There's that.
But she wasn't really like controlling.
No, she was just director of recruiting operations.
Yeah.
Just every recruit that ever came through the building, she was the one that decided where he went, who he talked to, what they were doing. Yeah, not a big role or anything. Just a big role.
I would say not doing what this girl's doing.
Not doing the media steering.
Certainly had an important role. Don't get me wrong.
It doesn't surprise me that a dictatorial type of coach like Bill Belichick has a media narrative spinner.
No.
It's just weird that it's his 24-year-old girlfriend. That's a little weird to me. All right, we can move on. Apparently, Arch Manning's going to be a villain this year. This comes from Reese Davis. Did I read that correct?
Yes. And it's kind of a self-explanatory reason. Like if you read the article, and I know you did, but it's a very like, oh well, it makes sense as to why he'd be the villain.
Do you mind? I'll kind of intro this article. Can someone pull the actual quote from Reese so we're not paraphrasing one of the biggest voices in college football? But like Kirby said and alluded to right here, the reasoning behind this take makes a lot of sense. It's basically we're anointing this guy before he's done anything, and that initially is going to piss people off. Will you read this quote for me, Jonathan?
It's unfortunate because of the attention he's going to get. He's going to become a fan favorite by those outside of Texas, and for others outside of Texas, he's going to become the ultimate villain. And I don't just mean Oklahoma people. He went on to continue and say, those who are not predisposed to like him, whether they are Texas fans or they like the Mannings or they like the Manning cast or whatever, or they just feel like it's too much too soon, they're going to root against him.
So let me lay out the haters' game plan. Okay, here's the haters' game plan. You ain't done nothing. Okay, when people are hyping you up before you do something, that guy ain't done shit. Why are we talking about him? He doesn't deserve to be talked about. That's step one. And then once you start doing something, it's, hey, do it for more than a year. Let me just make sure this isn't some random blimp on the radar. And then after that, once you do it for multiple years in college, then it immediately transitions into, well, you got to do it in the NFL for me to say you're worth anything. You got to go do it in the NFL. And then once you do it in the NFL, it's, hey, go win a Super Bowl. And then once you win a Super Bowl, it's, hey, I mean, you ain't Mahomes or you ain't Tom Brady. That's the haters method. That's how it goes. That's how it transgresses. So we are at the stage of, you ain't done shit yet. Why am I talking about you? All right. But if you actually watched him play last year, I mean, he's got starts. He's got 2 of them. All right. One against an SEC football team. So if you go watch the actual film, you see very clearly, oh, this is a 6'3", 210-pounder that's a 4'6'5" athlete. And oh, by the way, clean ass mechanics, as clean as humanly can be, can make every throw on the field. And he's been studying high-level football since he was, able to read a book. All right. So there's all of that going on. It should be this type of expectations. You should be talking about Arch Manning this way going into this year. And I don't think it's unworthy. All right. That's my opinion on it.
I think that what is even going to make this worse, like if he does indeed this season ball out and become like the figure of college football this year, is that the people that don't like him are going to start not liking him even more because he is so likable. Like there's nowhere that you can poke a hole in this. Like he doesn't have some type of attitude. Like, for example, like I would say Shedeur Sanders was good. And I think most people would say that he is a good football player, but the haters were able to fuel it even more because of the comments that he would make off the field and doing some of his other antics and things like that. Whereas Arch is pretty clean cut across the board. So it's even more difficult to like find ways to like build up the hatred.
I think the amount of hate that you get initially is solely based on the predisposition that you get from the media. Arch Manning has been hyped up and talked about for 3 years to the point where the casual fan, the fan outside of Texas, is probably a little bit tired of hearing about it. Because let's be honest, we've heard a lot about Arch Manning. We haven't really seen a lot. Not to say that he's not going to do that. You look at other stories like this where it's guys that kind of come out of nowhere. No one was really talking about Joe Burrow heading into the 2019 season. And the fact that he became such a household name that quickly was what made him so likable. And Joe Burrow is a likable figure and, did a lot of great things. I think if Arch Manning wasn't named Arch Manning, we would be looking at a completely different scenario.
I'll take it a step further, Kirby. I think if he had Manning face, he'd be a little bit more likable. He's too handsome. Peyton's super likable because he's got a 7 head. Eli's got that mouth breather face going on.
Well, Eli was handsome back at, I think we forget that Eli played college football in the early 2000s. Eli was in the mid 40, pushing 40 by the time he was still on the field.
I would never categorize Eli Manning as classically handsome. I think Arch has got that
Arch is definitely more attractive objectively, but
he got athleticism. I mean, he got all the reasons to dislike this guy. He got too many things going for him.
That's why you dislike someone?
I mean, that's what haters do. If you got shit going for you, haters gonna hate.
It's not even. I think it's also
hate us because they anus.
Because they what?
Anus.
You need to put a little more T in there.
I did.
T?
Hate us because they anus.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like you're saying anus, bro.
I think too, this would kind of I feel like this is because you brought up Joe Burrow, and I was trying to think of why he was so liked. And I think the part of this reason is because when people started to know about Joe Burrow, he was great for the entire season. So you really never had an opportunity to say oh, well, this guy isn't good. But as soon as there is a mess up in somebody's career, as soon as there is any type of reason to give doubt, that's when all of these takes start flying off. This dude's a bust. He ain't it. This guy is not going to pan out into anything. But then when they start getting proved wrong on the latter half of this, that's when they just can't let it go because they can't be wrong. I think that this is very akin to what happened to Stetson. Of his introduction in college football was against Auburn. He has this great moment. Dude's got dip in his lip. He's got all this swag and this aura, and then kind of teeters off a little bit. There's these moments where Stetson isn't actually him. This guy isn't all that great. And then he goes on and wins 2 national titles, and people still don't like him because they can't get past the fact that they said this guy sucks and they're wrong.
All of my questions about Arch this year have far more to do with what are they going to have in front of him? What's the offensive line going to look like? You lose 2 starting tackles that are NFL football players. That's going to impact things. Obviously you lose 2 wide receivers that were really, really talented last year. I know Bond didn't play a ton, but Golding's going to be a first-round draft pick. Like, that's impressive, or that's a major impact. And obviously the questions about the defensive side of the football, but I trust the way that they recruit over there. I think they're going to be fine defensively. I mean, you can shake a stick at a 4-star defensive player in the state of Texas. You can just walk out your back door in Austin and hit one in the forehead with a golf ball. And they're everywhere.
They are everywhere.
I don't doubt their ability to have good, sound defense. I don't think that's ever been Texas's problem. Maybe there's a blimp there somewhere, but I don't expect them to take too much of a step back defensively.
I do want to add one more thing though on this Arch Manning thing.
Yeah.
Arch Manning is only going to become the villain if the media becomes that.
You think so?
The media darling is always the villain. Like, that's the way it goes. Tennessee was the villain all the way up until they got beat by Georgia in 22. Colorado is the perfect example of this, where let them go 2-0 and you got First Take talking about, is Deion Sanders the greatest coach of all time?
I think
like that stuff like that is what causes people to hate them. And I think that the media is so oblivious to it. If Arch Manning comes out in his first 2 games and he's got 7 touchdowns, no interception, he throws for collectively 700 yards, and the media's like, oh.
You said first 2 games?
First 2 or 3.
Well, I mean, they start the season at Ohio State. So
if Arch Manning starts the season really well,
if he goes for 3 touchdowns, 350 against Ohio State, and they win by 2 scores, greatest of all time,
even more general of all that, stuff like that. So is he the greatest college quarterback of all time? That's what's going to create hate for Arch Manning. So the media has control of this. Hate,
and I think more so just rooting for downfall.
Correct.
You just want to watch the guy lose.
Patrick Mahomes. That's what is happening to Patrick Mahomes right now.
Patrick Mahomes. No. This is different. I hate him.
I'm shocked you didn't give that analogy.
I don't want to talk about him. He doesn't deserve it.
I'm sorry.
Do y'all know Trinidad James is a college football player?
Who?
Trinidad.
He doesn't know Trinidad James.
You don't know Trinidad James? Isn't that gold all in my watch?
There's gold all in my watch.
Trinidad Chambliss committed to Ole Miss today. Division II. Shout out to Ferris State. Now, I consider myself to be a D2 ball knower. I mean, for those who don't know, I play a little D2 football myself. I ain't never heard of this conference. I have never in my life. I've heard of Ferris State. I've heard of Grand Valley State. I did not know that there was a Division II conference up in the Great Lakes. Division II conference is what it's called. I didn't know that there were 17 Division II schools in the state of Michigan, but apparently there are. So much so, there's basically an entire conference of just Michigan D2 teams, and my man Trinidad ate them all up last year, destroyed them all. Only to a tune of 2,900 yards passing over 12 games and 1,000 yards rushing. I watched the tape today. This is an athlete. All right, he is definitely twitched up. However, if you throw for 2,900 yards in D2 football, you ain't exactly like a guy throwing the football. All right, now, most of these D2 come up guys, like I think Minnesota took a guy out of Division II football a couple years ago. That guy was throwing for like 4,700 yards in 12 games. These dudes light it up if you're reasonable. We got a freeze going on.
Oh, should I wait?
No.
We can just sit here and quiet.
I don't know what's going on, but we froze on YouTube first, and then we're back.
The camera's not frozen. Either way.
Yeah.
It's better than doing go show sitting still doing nothing.
I mean, you're right there. Let's see here.
Play the next part.
I mean, we got a full black screen and circles going on right now on YouTube.
Sick.
But I think we are back up. I think we are back up.
Now we can just relax and talk about fun things.
All right, we're back. We're back on YouTube for now.
It's your fault.
All right, I think that works.
It's not my fault, dude.
All right, where were we even
You're
at,
the one
boys?
controlling the stream.
Where were we at?
When you're talking about the transfer portal, but getting a D2 quarterback screams to me more like, hey, we need more quality bodies. Maybe some people that can step up to adjust our room. But I don't think that I never thought necessarily Ole Miss was looking for a starter here. But
I do wonder, why don't you think that Lane is super successful recruiting quarterbacks on the trail?
Location.
Okay.
Like, first of all, his state doesn't produce a lot of in-state prospects. I mean, since he's been there, the best in-state prospect out of Mississippi was Deuce Knight. And Deuce Knight was such a quality of football player that obviously the market was extremely high for him. So I think that plays a major role. Not a lot of high-end quarterback play in high school football in the state of Mississippi. Most of your 5-star quarterbacks are coming out of further towards the coast on the southeast, more West Coast guys, and Texas. Texas, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, or Tennessee, North Carolina, and California and Texas are like the quarterback thoroughbreds. Some Illinois guys, some Michigan guys every once in a while, but it's normally down here. Don't hear a lot of the state of Mississippi. And like, I think they sign the caliber of football player at the quarterback position that they do every other position.
Yeah.
I mean, they've signed one 5-star in the last 3 classes. It was Sutarian Perkins, and he was an edge rusher from the state of Mississippi. Like, they had to sign him. So I think it's more of a byproduct of that, Jonathan, than anything else.
That makes sense.
They sign high caliber 4-stars. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They don't venture into the 5-star market very often. I think like I said, I think they sign on par at the quarterback position what they sign elsewhere. If we see some stability here, we'll stay here.
Okay.
And not have to worry about a second stream tonight. But that's our backup plan. Some other news in the transfer portal market. Jaden Ott officially committed to Oklahoma already. Now, again, man, I don't know how this shit works. I don't know how this works at all. The portal window ain't even open. Portal window don't open until tomorrow. Yet we got 2. This is a second commit. They had a Stanford interior offensive lineman commit to Oklahoma today, and Jaden Ott commit to Oklahoma today. I'm not ratting on anybody because there ain't nothing to rat on. It's public information. Everybody's reporting it. How is this happening? Good for Oklahoma. Awesome. But Jaden Ott entered the portal this morning. Did he not?
No, yet last night.
Last night. Entered the portal last night. He's already committed publicly to Oklahoma, signed a contract. Oklahoma's Twitter account and collective has already tweeted the announcement. We have signed Jaden Ott. How?
And like, it would make, like, you would think like the obvious answer is like, oh, well, they could just frame it as he entered the portal. He knew he wanted to go to Oklahoma. Like, that was his dream school that he wanted to go to. But nowadays, something that you just mentioned is the collective.
Yeah, what?
We have to sign these players.
How do we negotiate a contract?
Yeah.
How do we decide the price point? Huh? Anybody want to let me know? Oh, the agent called. Well, it's still representative of the player. That shit ain't supposed to be happening.
I mean, no, it's not, but who's going to enforce
Who cares, right? Who's going to enforce it? Who's going to go after, right? Who cares? The sport's falling apart. I'm with you. I'm not being sarcastic with you.
I was like, geez.
I'm being sarcastic with this thought process of, well, fuck, who's going to come get us? Well, let's just keep approaching it that way. Hey, let's just keep murdering everybody. Who's going to come get us? Ain't no law enforcement out here, so let's just keep breaking laws. Oh, my God, we got no...
I don't know.
Oh, he's on edge now, dude.
I hate how coaches are out here like, oh my God, the sport is broke. Meanwhile, the coaches are out here breaking every non-existent rule so they can get one little bit of competitive advantage. All of you.
It's very true. It's a very ironic circle that we see.
Yeah.
So many rules are being broken. I have to break the rules to keep up.
Everybody finger point. It's his fault. It's his fault. It's definitely not mine.
Well, what if it's this? So, like, what if it is like, so Jaden Ott enters a portal, Oklahoma contacts him, whatever, but they're saying we won't officially announce this until the transfer portal or until it actually opens, and you can do your announcement. But I mean, everything gets leaked nowadays. Yeah. Everybody that's covering recruiting has some in everywhere, or in like maybe the agent is just telling, hey. We'll say on 3, like, hey, Jaden Ott's going to commit to Oklahoma, like, we got the deal done, and then it like gets fired off, like, hey, he's committed to Oklahoma, so now you got to run everything. Mm-hmm. That is very, I'm not saying that actually is possible, but just kind of a theory of mine.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we saw this happen with Riley Leonard and Notre Dame last year. Didn't they go back and delete tweets though?
I can't remember, but I remember it was Riley Leonard. I think he entered the portal with a do not contact.
Yeah. Before
the portal opened, and then a day later, Notre Dame, or I think it was like the day it opened, like as soon as it opened.
There was I was told last year there was a Georgia player that left and entered the portal in December that had his contract negotiated with his new school in October.
Sick. Good for him.
You know? And they have to go through the whole season pretending like this guy's, here.
He's still a dog.
And he's still practicing, and he's still a dog. And meanwhile, he already knows where he's going. See ya. But, yeah, I mean, but they get by all of this with I didn't contact the player. I didn't talk to the player. You talked to the agent who's running the player. Either way. Kirby, you had thoughts on Colorado retiring Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter's jersey, or did you?
I had thoughts.
You had
We
thoughts.
both had thoughts.
I have thoughts on this because when it.
I like that you have thoughts too, by the way.
I'm glad you will be able to contribute to this
job.
conversation.
That's awesome.
But when the announcement initially came out, I had the same reaction that everybody else did of Travis Hunter makes sense. One of the greatest players, like arguably the greatest player in Colorado football history, won a Heisman Trophy, all that stuff. Like that makes sense. And then the Shedeur one, it's like, okay, it feels like we're just tying this one in there because we have to. And I'll say this. If you just removed Shedeur's name and you had told somebody like this guy led the team in passing yards for a single season, he led the team, he finished with the most career passing touchdowns, he led the nation in completion percentages final year, he led the team to its best record in 8 years, and he did all this in 2 years. He finished, I think it was 5th all-time career passing yards at the university. Like he did all this in 2 years.
He's like 200 yards away from being 3rd.
Yeah, he almost passed Joel Klatt. I think if you told everybody that, they would say, okay. And on top of that, you said he made them relevant for the first time in forever. Like you added all the context to it. People probably like, okay, that makes sense. Like why that guy could potentially have his jersey retired. So I think that where they messed up here is the timing of this. The fact that you're doing it as soon as his career ends, that's kind of what has people fired up about this. Had you done this 10 years later, I don't think anybody's batting an eye. Like you could have done Travis Hunter as soon as the season ended, and then later on you're like, hey, Shedeur Sanders, we're going to retire his number. I think everybody's okay with that. But the fact that you did it as quickly as you did, that's kind of where people are a little angry at.
I did not expect myself to be digging down the annuals. Is that how you would say that? The annuals of Colorado football, but I did today. And you're right. I mean, in 2 years, I was with y'all. Like, Travis Hunter is a no-brainer. It makes sense. First and foremost, prior to this, only 4 numbers in the history of Colorado football have been retired. And they're weird numbers. It's like 27, 63.
They always are.
19. It's like weird-ass numbers that dudes were wearing in the 30s and the 40s. So this isn't something that this program does very often. So they're bumping trends right here. I can imagine why, if there are any old curmudgeons in Colorado football fandom, they would probably set some nerves off with this one. But you're right, Jonathan. I mean, the Shedeur stuff is going to get pointed at as what the hell is that? This guy doesn't deserve this. But, I mean, he is the career record holder in career touchdowns in just 2 years, like you mentioned. Obviously has the single-season record. Has a single-season record in passing yards, single-season in attempts, single-season record, and career completion percentage record. He has a single-season completion record as well. Seems warranted. Because it's Colorado football.
Yeah, and
no offense to Colorado football, but this is one of your best football players that's ever played there. Period.
And I see people in the chat say this is Deion's doing. I don't think it is Deion's doing, in my opinion. I think you could make the argument that they're doing this because Deion's the head coach.
I would make the argument that nothing in that program gets done without Deion's.
No, I agree with that, but I'm not saying. What I'm saying is I don't think Deion went and told him like, if we're retiring Travis Hunter's jersey, we are definitely retiring Shedeur's too.
Yeah,
but of course he's going to be on board with it. I mean, it's his son.
That's a good point. Guys, we're pushed up on the local hour, but I do want to preview the spring portal, which opens tomorrow. I really don't know what to expect, to be quite honest. I do think the Nico story might have slowed things down just a little bit, but more importantly than Nico losing his ass, it seems like, financially because of this decision to transfer during the spring, I think the real thing that's going to slow this portal window down is the interconference transfer rule that went down this offseason. Okay, so there's not going to be any Big Ten versus Big Ten poaching. There's not going to be any SEC versus SEC poaching. I think that limits a lot of what happens during this portal window. However, I do think there's going to be some greedy agents that think, hey, this is our last opportunity to go get a bag. Let's go do it. I think there's going to be some movement. I don't expect it to be insane.
No, and I mean, like you just said, like the hey, let's just go get everything we can motto has temporarily been shut down because of what just happened with Nico. Like, we think it's been warded off. You would have to imagine agents around the sport right now are kind of like, I'm not going to demand super over the number because I'll get told to walk. Yeah. But there's still going to be some sense of, hey, like, this is as good as it's going to get for us to make money, so we have to make moves on it.
I think there's going to be 2 players available in the portal this spring. Players that lost position battles somewhere that player is always going to be made available, and mid-major players that are good enough to come up that didn't come out in December, that the word's gotten out. Hey, like I went to several spring practices this spring. Some of them were Power 5 schools, some of them were mid-major schools, and at the mid-major schools, you would be told, like, hey, that guy over there is getting looked at. People are sniffing him like crazy. This freshman wide receiver went for 800 yards last year. He's 6'2". People are sniffing him like crazy. We're worried about keeping these guys. So there's a lot of that, and you're seeing some of that pop up right now. I think a Troy linebacker hit the portal today. I saw an App State linebacker hit the portal today. Like corners left and right hitting the portal. So there's that. I think you're going to see mid-major guys, and then guys that lost starting battles. We good?
Yes, sir.
Got a whole nother hour coming up right now, and it's our local hour. Excited to do it with you guys. We're going to talk that dog. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? Really like that. You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What'd you say you want to start with?
Should we start with the wheel?
The wheel? The wheel of Georgia?
The wheel of Georgia?
The wheel of Georgia
Is
topics?
that the one with Kirby in a red top?
Oh, you know.
Ooh, and a white visor?
You know
He's
it.
got a microphone in his hand?
Oh, no, it's red visor. It's red visor.
Ooh. Hey, let's go to the board. Let's spin that wheel. Welcome in to the local hour. Let's turn this other microphone on so y'all can hear the Brody. Welcome into the local hour. Hey, if you want a certified ball knower t-shirt, they are made readily available in the merch store. You can find the link in the description of this video. Man, am I juiced for the wheel. Let's spin this sucker and see what we got. Welcome into the local hour. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribing, rate, and reviewing. We got a great one for you guys playing tonight. Who isn't being talked about enough? Christian Kirby. Oh, that's on me. I forgot to mute the TV.
Dang, man.
Who is not being talked about enough, Christian Kirby? Who
I
is
feel like this
a
is
football player you think should be talked about more?
This is a very hard discussion to have amongst us because I feel like we kind of talk about all of the players.
Yeah.
Drew Bobo's definitely one simply because he's a center. I know that's a very good one for you. I'm be honest. Outside of us, I haven't heard a lot of Zion Branch talk. I think he's someone who could be a very, very, very big contributor in the back end for the Georgia Bulldogs this year defensively. And it's not necessarily something that you're really hearing anyone talk about. Now, I get it. The safety position, you just lost to Malachi Starks. You have a KJ Bolden there that's already a proven commodity. Why would you talk about a Zion Branch that was kind of, for all the outside views, kind of the add-on to Zachariah? I don't think he's that at all. I think he's someone that needs to be talked about. He's going to make a difference this year.
Little shot at the comp there.
Maybe. Just the public.
I think that this player started to be talked about quite a bit at the beginning of spring, and then it kind of teetered off, I think, because of some of the guys that got brought into his position group. And by all accounts, those two guys...
Show me London Humphreys.
No.
Dang.
I'm going with Oscar Delp.
Ooh.
Because I think that, at the beginning of spring, Oscar made this comment about how he kind of had one foot out the door last season, maybe wasn't taking care of business at the capacity that he should have been, and people took it in different directions. But I think that kind of showed a preview that Oscar Delp might be a different football player this year. And this is a guy that has a lot of experience on this roster. He has played a lot of football at the University of Georgia, came back another season. I think that he certainly deserves to be talked about more than he has.
I'll go London Humphreys. I'll go London Humphreys. Talk more about him. Can play a lot of positions. I think if he stays healthy this year, you're going to see him on the field quite a good bit.
I think Dylan Bell also needs to be in this category.
I like the topics wheel. Let's spin it again. See if we can get some good stuff out of this.
It didn't take it off.
That's on me.
A duplicate.
That's on me.
J-Will.
That's on me. That's on me. We got to remove.
No, he has to hit
And then
remove.
spin again. That's on me. That's not on J-Will. That's on the boss.
J-Will.
Okay, that's the boss's fault right there. Let's see here. Man, I was hoping it was going to hit trivia. Would you rather? What kind of would you rather you got for me tonight, Christian Kirby?
All right. Would you rather see Georgia win a College World Series or March Madness tournament?
Ooh.
I want this answer from a fan standpoint, from your standpoint of a businessman.
I was about to say.
Because that's always what business, if we do more views of this.
Yeah.
Give me both.
I was immediately going that way, by the way.
Give me both.
They read baseball 10-1.
Well, he can give
Georgia
business.
Space. They read baseball 10-1 in the Georgia space.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. The ratio. It's Georgia football, Georgia baseball, Georgia basketball. It's not even close.
And I think that's why I would
So
say.
isn't that the fan base's intentions?
I mean, yeah.
That's why I always take it from the numbers.
Georgia fans are certainly more passionate about baseball. I mean, for sure. But I think that's one of the reasons why. Now, I know I'm a basketball guy, so I am a little biased here. But
I personally want to see March Madness.
I think March Madness will be a little bit more electric. And I also think that if they win a national title in basketball, then it shoots up there with baseball. Because, I mean, I didn't cover the baseball team when they were kind of middling. But and ever since Wes Johnson's gotten here, I mean, they're certainly bought into the baseball program. So if you did that for basketball, you'd be a trifecta school.
Ooh, trifecta school. Are there such things? Who's a trifecta school? Who's got all three? Bama? No, their baseball program's
Tennessee.
in the dump right now.
Tennessee's got a really good.
Oh, man.
Florida would have had it, but their baseball team sucks this year.
No bats.
No, not at all.
I mean, their football team hasn't exactly been great either.
That's true there.
Texas A&M, another one of these that could have been, but
Texas has a
Baseball team this year.
Texas's basketball wasn't that good, but
they're kind of the same though every year in basketball.
Texas basketball this year was no different than Anthony Edwards' Georgia years.
Yeah.
They had one great player, and they weren't good enough, so the coach got fired.
Yeah.
Chat saying CWS.
All I'm saying is let the dogs make a March Madness run, and people start changing their tune about that basketball.
Let you find out what a dog's run will do to your fandom there. All right, let's start the local hour after the wheel of topics by letting you, or rather taking a full 350-foot view of the football team at Georgia right now as spring practice has concluded. We have 4 questions, okay, that we're going to answer here tonight. Question number 1, what are the concerning things left about this football team? Question number 2, what's the one thing they have to get better at this summer? Question number 3, where are the holes on this roster? Question number 4, who could they add in the portal to potentially fill those holes? Before we get into this, let's address Ken from Cumming. Is Ken from Cumming on the board already? I believe he is.
I want to say he is.
All right, so we need to address how we're going to do. Should we just decide to put him on twice?
Maybe an underline.
Oh, I like the underline theory. Underline theory under Ken from Cumming. Ken from Cumming says, Brooks, J. Will, and Mr. Kirby, I'm back. Just remember, Brooks isn't a Georgia fan.
Welcome back, Mr. Ken.
Welcome back, Ken from Cumming.
So nice to see you back.
Just a fan of good ball right here. That's all. That's a fan of good ball. I feel like Ken from Cumming is one of our first on the board. I'm not seeing Ken from Cumming. All right.
He gets on the board.
He gets on the board. Ken from Cumming. Shout out to Ken from Cumming. Remember, all Super Chubs north of $20 get put on the board. Shout out to Ken from Cumming. We appreciate you, my boy. All right, on to the next topic. Again, those 4 questions, just to remind the chat and give J. Will another opportunity to pinch that off in there. What are the concerning things about this team? What is one thing they have to get better at this summer? What are the holes left on this roster? What could they do to add, fill those holes rather, in the transfer portal? Question number 1, what are the concerning things left about this team? I'll be honest, I'm concerned about the depth of this roster at this point, but that's everyone in college football. I think if you have certain injuries at certain positions, you could be in big time trouble. I'm concerned as well about the high-end talent on the defensive line. We know Christian Miller didn't get to practice this spring. I think he has an opportunity to be a really, really flashy player and a guy that can make some highlight plays on that defensive line and really threaten opposing offensive line units. But apart from that, I think they got a room full of serviceable players, hoping that Elijah Griffin pops year 1. That is a concern for me.
I've kind of waned off of there's not a lot of depth on this roster because, like you said,
it's average.
We hear Kirby Smart hammering, and it makes sense. Kirby Smart is only focused on the Georgia Bulldogs roster, and he looks at years past and goes, damn, there's not a lot of depth here. The reality is that if everyone else around you also sees the same decline, you're still playing on an even playing field. So I don't think that necessarily it's like Georgia doesn't have as much depth as they once did, and teams are catching up. No one's got as much depth as they once did. One of the concerns for me, and this kind of reared its head on Saturday as well, and it's not going to get answered until the fall, but offensive starts. It felt like all last year, Georgia's offense kind of sleptwalked through, the first quarter, sometimes the first half of the game. It would take, until the second drive of the third quarter for them to go, hey, we finally saw some offensive production here. It was kind of the same way on G-Day. Now, it was a running clock. It was 12-minute quarters. I get it, but there wasn't a touchdown scored till midway in the second quarter, like late into the second quarter. And stuff like that makes you go, remember 2024 where you go, oh man, remember in Kentucky when they didn't score a touchdown to the third quarter? Remember against Clemson when they didn't really have anything going to the third quarter? Remember at the Alabama game where the first half was essentially just a blowout because of that? Like stuff like that is a concern of, can this offense get things rolling within the first few drives?
I think mine has to be at safety because of this. Because what I am concerned about is that maybe people are not prepared for what could potentially be the drop-off at this position. Because if you think back in years prior of what Georgia has had at this position, just in recent history, between Javon Bullard, and you could throw Tyke Smith into that mix, and Malachi Starks in this mix, and Dan Jackson in this mix, KJ Bolden is a great player. He is going to be a great player for Georgia. But it's been a minute since you didn't have like two solidified guys back there at safety. And not saying that the guys and the options that they have at that position can't do that, but I would be concerned at that. I think this kind of happened with the defensive line where all of a sudden it didn't look like it used to. There was some panic. I think you might see that at safety a little bit this year.
I want to also address the chat. KJ Harris says drops killed every first half drive in all those games. Very true. I'm still also concerned about drops. We saw a couple of those on G-Day where it's like, oh boy. I mean, even in the press box, you heard a couple people grumbling like, oh, here we go again, stuff like that. So drops are still a concern for me as well. Mm-hmm. They're not as much of a concern.
I'm so proud of myself. I just bit my tongue. Chat also says, who is Brooks's favorite college football team? Boys, what am I a fan of?
You're a fan of good football.
Fan of good football.
Why do you ask us to answer that question?
Because,
because we know.
You used to say it with unison and juice. Now I feel like you just answered that as if you were tired of answering that question.
It's interesting.
And if you don't believe that statement, if you think I'm just hiding my allegiances like some people do in this industry, watch me break down any other football tape, right? Watch me break down the quarterbacks we've been breaking down. Watch the juice that I bring to those things, man. And if you've ever been in the room while I do those things, your immediate impression after the hour on the board would be, man, he sure loves his job, and man, he sure loves football.
I think the most passionate you got about a film study that I can remember from last year would probably be Notre Dame. I remember you falling in love. It just like the energy level was unmatched for that, watching Notre Dame more than anything, in my opinion.
And went into that hating them.
Yeah.
Just hating them.
I think the fact that you went from, you had an entire deep state dedicated to hating on one quarterback to by the end of the year was like, they're playing the best football in the college football playoff right now. Like, that shows that you are a fan of good football. In fact, UNC just had an edge into the portal.
Who?
UNC just had an edge into the portal. It's Bo Atkinson.
Never heard of him. Did he play?
Said he had ACC Defensive Honors of the Week and appeared in every single ACC game. So that might be something to pay attention to if you're Georgia. But
6'6", 260.
Let's hold the. That's a big boy. Let's hold the super chub from Brantley Martin until the end of these discussions. Okay, so remind me to come back to that. Are we good on the concerns?
The other one, come on.
Drag it out. Go.
Other one I have is being able to pull off victories. For as much as we talk about slow starts, that Georgia team seemed to find a way to win, with the exception of one game. They did against Texas in the SEC Championship, Kentucky, obviously the Georgia Tech game. They kind of did it against Alabama if it weren't for one play, but like, if you get in a situation this year, can that team translate that? And we all, there's a lot of things we can talk about last year's team that didn't go right, but the most part, they were pretty clutch when they needed to be. Mm-hmm. Can you have that with this year's team? Because you have to imagine you're going to be in some close games this year. We've seen the schedule. We know the stakes. We know the roster as well. It's got a lot of young guys with an experience. Can you clutch up when you need to? That's a concern.
All right, what's the one thing they have to get better at this summer? In usual fashion, I gave you 3. The number one thing that they have to work on this summer is not a team thing. It's a personal thing with Gunner. I think Gunner's got to get a little bit thicker. I think there's 10 pounds to be had there. I think we need to make sure we're doing low reps, high weight, and eating nothing but steak and taters all off season. I think he's about 210 pounds now. If he played the fall at 220, I think it would add a tremendous service to them. I think it would increase his durability first and foremost. But we've talked about on this network, Gunner Stockton is not going to run away from people. No. But he needs to be able to run through arm tackles next year and needs to be able to do that willingly and not have to worry about his body. Give me another 10 pounds.
So does it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you want him to kind of become a Jackson Dart body style.
Yeah.
Where it's like, Dan, this kid's thick. He's going to run through your arm tackles, but he's not going to run away from you.
Correct.
But he's a +1 athlete.
I thought Jackson's a more fluid athlete as is. Like Jackson's got like hurdle clips, right? Like he jumping over people. Yeah. That's a little bit different. But yeah, I do want to see some thickness and some lowers. Okay, I want to see him add 10 pounds from the nips down. Okay, we don't need to be worried about bench pressing. We don't need to be worried about overhead shoulder pressing. We don't need to do none of that. We need to be worried about thickening our core and thickening our lower half. Give me some quads, baby. I have some more. I think they have to find a way. This is more of a schematic thing. I think if I were in that Georgia meeting room offensively this summer, I would be trying to find ways to get both Zachariah Branch and Zacoby White onto the field.
Okay. How do you...
And the reason being, you paid what you paid for Zachariah Branch. You invested what you invested in Zachariah Branch. But I personally believe Zacoby White has the potential to be a very special player at the University of Georgia. And if we stunt year 2 of growth, force-feeding the snaps to Zachariah Branch, I think that's a negative for the future of the program. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I totally get it. Are you saying like Zachariah and Zacoby have to rep share, or are you saying they have to be on the field at the same time?
Get them on the field at the same time. Because they're already in a position where they're rep sharing. And anytime I'm giving Zacoby White reps, that means I'm taking reps from Zachariah Branch.
The problem with that is then if you have to take reps somewhere.
From somewhere.
And
I'm with you.
You've also still got 2 ex-bodies in Noah Thomas and Colby Young, who, by the way, Colby Young looked great at the spring game. Didn't get to see Noah Thomas. We've also talked about Dylan Bell's going to play into this equation, so he's going to be your gadget guy. We've also talked about how, like you said, Zachariah Branch. London Humphreys is kind of your only true Z body type there. They might run a lot of 12 personnel with Lawson Lucky and Oscar Dell, but it's like... It's almost getting to the point where we talked about it last year to an extent of you're getting too many mouths to feed, where it's like, we got to get this guy touches, we got to get this guy touches, we got to get this guy touches. So I think I agree with you that Zacoby White showed he's more than talented and deserves to be on the field, but it's also like, where are these reps going to come from at some point?
I want to address this because it's gone from Bobo the draw runner to Bobo the screen runner. Ladies and gentlemen, you are a fan of college football, which means you better get used to watching screen passes, okay? I don't know if y'all watch college football nowadays, but we think Oregon's got a pretty fun offense the last several years.
Yep.
Huh? Bo Nix entered the NFL draft with 50% of his completions at, near, or behind the line of scrimmage. Screens get thrown in college football. It's going to happen.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Everyone's doing it. Your favorite offensive coordinator that you want Georgia to hire, that they never will, is running screens on 25% of their plays. Sorry.
What I was going to say about the Zacoby White and the Zachariah Branch conversation is, why not just put one of them in the backfield, have a little imposter, and then it can be as simple as, and he's not taking reps at running back. It's just as simple as he starts at running back, maybe you motion him out, you help out with the coverage a little bit, then you can get them both on the field.
Last thing that they got to work on this summer, any guesses?
What do you got?
Stay your ass out of trouble.
Oh,
yeah, thank you. That one goes.
Stay your ass out of trouble.
Please.
Lock yourself in a room all summer, and the room is the weight room. Lock yourself in there and don't leave.
I like it.
Yeah. What you got?
I think completion percentage is something that's going to need to be picked up a little bit.
Yeah.
We talked about this after the spring game. I don't think either quarterback completed 50% of their balls. Now again, spring game doesn't mean a lot. They were trying new things out with a roster that they're still tweaking things. I don't think Gunnar Stockton's going to have under, or Ryan Puglisi is going to have under 50% completion percentage this year. I do think it's going to be important for them to maximize their possessions, however. And I think that starts with having a higher completion percentage. If Gunnar can finish the year somewhere around 62 to 65%, I think you're absolutely fine.
Yeah, that kind of feels like what he will be, in my opinion. Mine, I would just kind of keep it plain and simple, because I think these were two things last year that Georgia struggled with that it's hard to remember a time where they struggled with both of these things, but tackling an open space and running the football, those would be the two. Like, I think if you took, like, even with the drops issues, if they would have done those two things better last year, there might have been some different outcomes for them, in my opinion. I think that those two things were such killer, because when there were times where it felt like you couldn't pass the ball because you were just sputtering constantly, you didn't have an answer constantly in the run game. And then even on top of that, you gave up some big explosives defensively, something that was very uncharacteristic of a Georgia defense.
All good points there, which moves us to our next question, which is, where are the holes in the roster? Now, I'm going to ask a question, and I want you guys to give me a 3 count and allow the chat to answer, or give an opportunity for the chat to answer so we don't lead the witness here, okay? Who is Georgia's best pass rusher right now?
Let the answers start pouring in.
That might be the $1 million question, to be honest.
No,
Is it Chris Cole?
That's scary to say.
It sounds like
Is it Quintavious Johnson?
Not getting any better right now. I mean, the fact that the two names that we just rattled off were two names that we really haven't even seen that. But like doing that.
Yeah.
Like Chris Cole we've seen, obviously, but not really getting after the passer. And then also Quintavious Johnson's been hurt and banged up, and we haven't seen much of him.
Is it Gabe Harris?
That's the one I would go with, just because.
Throwing that out there.
That's who I would go with today.
Now, let me
We could identify that as a pretty big hole.
Yes.
Or at least a question.
I think so.
An
Now,
unknown.
Let me be the devil's advocate, Homer Georgia fan here. If we had sat down this time last year and said, who's Georgia's best pass
We would
rusher?
have said Micah Williams.
No one would have said Jalen Walker. No one would have said that Chaz Chambliss was going to have 6.5 sacks last year. So right now, yeah, you're absolutely right. And we had a bunch of departures from that area of Michael, Chaz, all these guys. I know they don't play exactly the same position, but yeah, there is a kind of a we of pass rushers that you have right now. That's not to say they can't step up in the year. We saw it last year with Jalen Walker. I mean, he won the damn Butkus Award. And no, we as a channel were not talking about him last year. In fact, we were kind of talking about how's this guy going to get on the field? So
we now have 2 Super Chubs to talk about and note on the wall after this segment.
I think we have 3.
3?
I think so.
I guess they think they need a running back too. This is weird to me. This was a conversation I had with a source on Saturday, and I guess I misinterpreted what he said. I thought they were expecting a departure out of the room, but weren't necessarily in the market for a transfer running back. But apparently they're going to kick the tires on whatever there is available to kick the tires on, and it ain't going to be Jay Knott because he's going to Oklahoma. So I guess they're in the market for a transfer running back, which to me, I understand from a depth purposes, but the body that they're going to add to that room, in my mind, better be a depth person. It better not be somebody that they think they're going to give premier carries to, because I would imagine Nate Frazier got a raise this offseason.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what the running back position has become at College Football Collective. Like, you can never have too many defensive linemen.
Yeah.
And it's starting to come to where you can never have too many running backs, because they get banged up so much. You have to rotate them out. There's so many different types of running. There's a power back. There's a quick back. There's a back that comes out of the backfield for passing games. Like, there's so many different types of running backs you can have. There's not enough running backs. And I think that's kind of what Georgia's kind of the mentality they're taking here. I mean, we came in the last 2 seasons. There's been some point in the season where we're like, man, their running back room has been really depleted this year. We talked about them last year of how this might be the deepest running back room they ever have. And very, very quickly, midway through the fall, we were like, oh man, it's Nate Frazier, it's Cash Jones, and better hope no one else gets hurt, because you're going to have to start playing freshmen. So it makes sense that they're going to go after a body here. I don't think they're in absolute need of one, but they've also never been a team to, try to get caught with their pants down. So they're going to go out and get one, I assume.
Another hole on the roster. I think they need a backup center. And here's why. Look, I like Malachi Tolliver. I do. But if Drew Bobo gets hurt tomorrow, they're looking at Malachi Tolliver or Cortez Smith and saying, hey, are you guys ready to play? And I don't know if the answer tomorrow is a resounding yes. I think they'd be serviceable players, but I think you're taking a step back majorly. So I do think there is a need for an interior swing player on the offensive line right now.
I think that's also one of those positions where it's like you never have too many of those.
No.
And having good depth and experience is going to be hard to find in this portal window, you'd have to imagine. But if they go out and get a guy, I don't think it'd be surprising. I think they also have kind of a, not necessarily a hole, but it's more of a, what's going to fill this gap right now in the secondary when it comes to deep threat vertical passing game.
Yeah.
We kind of have an idea of the cornerbacks are going to be, it's going to be one of those four. It's going to be two of those four. We know KJ Bolden's going to be there. We have an idea that's going to be Zion Branch. That star position where it's Zion or Ja'Cory. The star position is it going to be Jonel Aguero or is it going to be they need someone in the vertical passing? We talked about it on G-Day. There were a couple of times where he got exposed in the deep passing game, which is something that everyone's been worried about. So that's why I think there might be a hole there, if they think there is.
Chat's asking about potentially adding another quarterback to the room. It's going to be really, really hard unless there's an Ashton Daniels out there that exists that's just, I want a good degree, and I'm not playing football after college anyway, so I don't really care. I don't know if you're going to be able to find a body that just wants to come in and guarantee a backup.
Muschamp got any more sons?
Jackson? One of them's at Vandy right now. So no, I don't know if Muschamp's got any eligible kids available right about now. But they need I think they need a Harrison Bailey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need a couple years ago, they took a dude out of Nevada that was Dominic Blaylock's high school quarterback. They need one of those. They need another Coulter Ginn to just show up out of Perry and just already be in college somewhere and just want to come and be a dog.
But I mean,
and enjoy the frat scene.
I mean, we talk about like Kirby wants 4, and they've kind of got 4 right now. So I don't think they're gonna expound upon that.
I mean, if I were looking at that roster, I would view Coulter Ginn as a scholarship player. He's a good enough player. What are you looking at your phone for? You got something?
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought I did though.
Okay. Just making sure. It was one of those inquisitive looks at the phone as if it was a news item. So who could they add in the portal? Any more holes? I think we addressed all of them.
Yeah.
Did you have any?
I think Georgia's a team that's never been like, oh, that needs to be addressed immediately. Especially not at this time of year. Like you have other than barring there being like a catastrophic injury, there's not something where you look at the Georgia roster and go, oh boy, they need to fill that immediately. There's a couple places where it's like, oh, it'd be nice to have another body here, or they might want to go grab another option here to fill depth. But as far as holes go, I don't think there's many on this roster.
I think the number one priority is anybody 6'5", 260 plus. We just need another veteran body at that size that can come in and maybe earn some playing time and fill a void in that roster right about now, which talks about or leads us into our next discussion topic, which is whether or not Georgia will be buyers in the spring portal. I think the discussion first and foremost starts with who enters the portal.
Yep.
Is there quality players? Is there going to be somebody that can actually make an impact on Georgia's roster enter? I've given out information on this front on patreon.com/Brooks Austin, where you'll also hear about a potential flip target that I was made aware of this weekend over there on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. So you need to sign up over there for all that thorough, detailed information. We don't give it all out here on the public platform. So go over there and find out more there. I don't expect them to lose too much. I've given out kind of an inkling of who I expect to depart over on Patreon. I do think they'll lose a few guys. At that point, it's about finding, like I said, the right type of guy to come in and make an impact at the positions of need. If I were to rank the importance of each position of need right about now, I'd say number 1, defensive end body type. Yep. Number 2, for me, backup center. I would say number 3 is a nickel cover corner, like you mentioned. But they have so many good corners that if it comes down to putting Dalen Everett in the slot and bringing in whoever, whether it be Daniel or Ellis, whoever it is that isn't starting opposite of Dalen, bring them in and just let them play during those obvious passing downs. I would do that. I would go get a nickel cover corner before I'm out here adding another running back, but they feel like they need to do that. So I don't.
Yeah, I don't
the
get the
last thing I want is Nate Frazier looking at me some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
I want Nate Frazier going into this year thinking he's about to be a freaking Heisman candidate.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to eat, baby. This is my year. Let's go.
I mean, I think we're misreading and misjudging like what adding a body to that room would do. I don't think it's going to be like, Coach, you don't think I'm the guy? Like everyone.
I mean, if they wanted a dude, the Jade Knott thing wouldn't have happened over 36
for sure.
hours.
If they wanted a dude, they'd have been shopping at the end of the season when the fall window opened.
Correct.
Up. Like this is all right. Let's fill the injury gaps that we have, or B, we now have a look at our roster. Let's see where the holes are. Everyone knows Nate Frazier's the guy this year. Nate Frazier knows Nate Frazier's the guy. The Georgia Bulldogs know Nate Frazier's the guy. I don't think there's going to be any quarrels if they go and get a running back.
I do think it's worth mentioning, too, that just like us and what it seemed like the staff, too, Nate Frazier was also expecting Trevor Etienne to stay another year.
This is true.
I remember him tweeting when he declared for the draft, like, "Oh, you told me one more year, dude." So he expected there to be another guy in this running back room. So not saying that Georgia at this point now can be like, "Oh, we can go get another guy because this is what we were expecting," but just kind of like emphasizing that point of they were already expecting, or they felt like they already had another guy in the room.
They were caught off guard in January.
Yeah.
You're right.
So it would make sense why maybe they would want to add another running back.
All right, we got some super chubs to take care of over here. Brantley Martin needs to go up on the board if he's not already. Let's put him right here under Matco. Brantley Martin.
He wants us to speak about his guys, Nasir Johnson and DeMello Jones.
Yeah, 4.78 guys, right?
Yes, sir.
I think both of them. Y'all have heard me talk about Nasir Johnson. I think Nasir Johnson is gorgeous. Nasir Johnson is 6'5", 335 pounds, and moves like a 250-pounder. I like what I've seen from Nasir Johnson right about now. He is going to be, along with Jordan Thomas, along with Nnamdi Ogboko, they're going to be thrown into the rotation quite a bit this year, particularly at nose tackle. Those are really, really big bodies that need to play some good minutes this year and develop in year 2 under that system. DeMello Jones was asked about as well. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think they love what they have in DeMello, so much so that at first, like when he first got on campus, they were like, hey, Ellis is great. We think this guy's going to be great too. Okay, so he got a lot of love early on in his career. What I love most about DeMello is his willingness to stick his nose in. Of all of the young corners, I think DeMello has an opportunity to be a really, really physical football player at the point of the attack. James Frank is in there as well. Shout out to James Frank. Let's put James Frank right here. Shout out to my man, James Frank.
And then you have Jeremy Rogers.
Whoa. And a down lob top. All right, Jeremy Rogers.
Yes, sir.
Jeremy
Rogers.
Rodgers.
No D.
Well, unfortunately, it's a permanent marker.
Well, good thing your handwriting is so bad we won't even be able to know.
I mean, dear Lord.
Hey, man, if you're written it right, no one said anything.
Boss can't buy a break tonight, man. Jesus. While we're over there, let's go ahead and hit another topic wheel. I think it's a good idea right here. Aim to see how good Kirby is at spinning them cameras. How about that? All right, here we go. What do we got? Give me a would you rather, please. Or are we going to get into a nostalgia tape? That's on the line right there between those two. Nostalgia tape. Hell yeah. Do I need to...
Did we line up anyway?
You had it in there. This is a you thing.
Pull
well,
up.
Just
pull up.
I thought we already did that. Or did we not?
No.
Okay.
Are they done yet?
Give me a minute. I'll pull it up over here.
He's pulling it up. Give him a sec.
You can.
You just let me know, okay?
You unplug your ears.
You
I'm
can
going to
take
pull it
him
up
out
over
now.
here.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry.
I think we're good.
In the meantime, you can show off that certified.
I mean, look at that shirt, man. Hell yeah, that thing's sick.
Is that a cap on his head?
Yeah, it's a diploma cap. What do you call that thing that you throw up in the air?
I think it's just a cap.
The one with the tassel on it?
I think it's just a cap.
It's a graduation cap? That doesn't have a fancy name?
I don't know if it is. I don't know. Speaking of graduation, I won't be here on May 8th, by the way.
Oh, that's how we do this.
Because
May 8th. Do I need to be in attendance?
Nah.
I've never been invited to one of my employees' graduation ceremonies. I mean, hell, you've only had 3 combined between the 3 of you.
Well, actually, we were at the same one. So,
I mean, not even a, hey, boss, you know, if you got time. I mean, you just give me the opportunity to say no is all I'm asking.
All right.
You know? Oh, wow. This is old school stuff right here.
Old school stuff, but it's someone you're fond of.
Okay. So, this is Oh my Lord. That's Richie.
That is Richard.
Yeah, that's Richie.
Why does this look like he played in 2006?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. Why does this look like 1997 highlight tapes? What's going on here?
Guys, let's be real with ourselves.
Boom!
Oh my
Lord. He killed though.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Bro, the slow-mo effect is so
The
nasty.
slow-mo effect is crazy. Yeah, man.
I mean, this tape is almost 9 years old now.
But what I would have had a hard time. I'd have a hard time ranking him a 5-star based off the physical build. You know? But he wasn't he? Wasn't he a top 25 player?
Yeah, but
Coming out of high school?
I mean, you look at the stuff he's doing, and it kind of.
Yeah, you get it.
I mean, he's going to pull away from this guy.
Wow.
Man, we had an opportunity to get Richie on the show. I need to circle back on that. Watch some ball,
Always
Richie.
seemed like a very fun personality, very jovial.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be pretty cool to hang out with the Migos, amen?
Yeah.
Amen. Him and Hot Rod.
This fucking guy.
Good Lord,
Yeah,
Richie.
buddy. All that playmaking ability you saw in college,
That's
too.
Arkansas.
Yeah, same pick. Yeah, you're right.
Exact same pick.
Bro, I bet he was talking mad shit.
What high school did he go to?
Well, I want to say Elbert County, but I don't think it was.
Oh no.
Oh, he double spinned
Oh
him?
my gosh.
This is insane.
This is fantastic. He cribs this too, doesn't he?
Like, oh, the block back right there.
Penalty. Shows you how old this tape is.
Yeah. He was
Nowadays-
toying with that. That's just 10
nowadays-
minutes long.
Yeah.
It's an 11-minute tape. Shout out, I'm going to send Richie a text right now. That was one of my favorite football players to study, man. You talking about a dude that I don't know if he was grinding tape. I really don't. I think he was just that freaking instinctual.
Yeah.
I think he just saw things before they happened and just ran to the right spot. I'll never forget. There's a play against Auburn where he's supposed to be the backside. He's supposed to be the backside safety. Epic Pins over there?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the backside safety. Okay, in a 3-by-1 setting. All right. And Auburn, under Malzahn, used to run this wide receiver screen on 3rd and long. All right, where they'd get into 3-by-1. All right, so they put a big H over here on the line. They'd put a slot receiver and then the Z over here. And all these guys would stock block. All right, and then they'd take their best run after catch guy and they'd run him on a shallow. And then once he got past the center, he'd go behind the line of scrimmage. All right, this is basically their way on 3rd and long to get the quarterback back here and then basically throw a pseudo screen outside of the box where there's grass to be had, right? Everybody's going to be in prevent. Everybody's going to be in some type of cover 4. Richie is playing the backside high safety. Okay, so he's got this whole deep side of the field. He sees what's going on, and you can see him dart against Auburn right to the catch point and blows it up for a -3. And I'm like, I'm watching him the whole time, and I'm like, bro, I know you got deep half, and we're just out here just bailing responsibilities because we see what we see. And I think that was his whole entire play style. And again, like I know JR was grinding tape because I could hear it when he talked. I don't know if Richie was grinding tape. I think Richie was just playing ball, all right, the whole entire time. And that's what I love most about him.
Don't go too far from the board. Just
Another super chub?
Got another super chub.
All right, well, I don't have my Sharpie's a big one.
Perhaps our most famous of viewers, Marion Campbell, has given us a super chub.
Hell yeah, Marion Campbell. I appreciate it, man. We're on a streak tonight. We got to make sure Marion Campbell can be seen.
Says, a better super chub before the wall fills.
Oh, we got plenty of wall around here, Marion. Don't
We
you
make
worry
room
about
for
that,
you.
Baby. Don't you worry about that, baby. We got plenty of wall for Marion Campbell. Shout out to Marion Campbell. Shout out to all the Super Chubs tonight, man. We are on fire. Might be able to keep the lights on in the stew here in Mom's basement. Mom's not going to have to yell at me too much about paying rent this month.
Good.
It's going to be all right.
Good.
That's nice. Players who benefited most from the spring. Who are they? I got a 5er. I got a 5 spot for you. And my number 5, most interesting take I'm going to deliver all night.
Oh, all right. I got 3.
Come on.
First one I have is Dominic Kelly. I don't think he's necessarily going to be someone you see making plays this fall, but as a freshman to make the plays he did and get the experience that he did, he definitely did himself a lot of favors this spring from the regards of just, hey, getting the experiences, getting what you need to out of your first spring. You come in, you learn the Georgia way, you make plays on G-Day, and you kind of get the taste of what's to come for you. So Dominic Kelly's definitely one of them. I also have Zion Branch as a winner from spring there, or a benefiter. I mean, we talked about this, like the first few weeks they came in, the Branch brothers, it was like, oh, wow, you can feel the leadership from these guys. Zion Branch, once again, kind of quote-unquote looked the part. He was someone that really popped for them. I think he was also a major benefiter from that.
I want to show love to my boy Cyber Proxy. I think we had to make him do 2 Super Chubs to get on here. So boom, there a little underline under the name for Cyber Proxy. Appreciate Cyber Proxy right there for hitting us with that Super Chub. Continue our conversation here about players who've won most.
And then the final 2, Zion Branch obviously won. And then the final 2, Ellis and DeMella. With Dalen Everett not going down, but being on the sidelines with the sport training this year, they got quality reps, both of them. They're in the middle of a cornerback battle. I know Daniel Harris is in that too, but Daniel Harris has some in-game experience from last year. Ellis and DeMello definitely benefited from all the ones reps they got this spring.
The first one on my list, I had Colby Young. I mean, this is a guy that had to miss the latter half of the season last year, was away from football, got to finally return back to football. I know he did at the end of last year. They said he was practicing with the team, but being officially back in a Georgia uniform, people getting to see him, and it sounds like he's certainly taking advantage of him getting his role back with the team, and it looks like he's going to have a major role in Georgia's offense this year and do everything that people were hoping he was going to do last season. So I think he had a great spring. Chauncey Bowens is my second one, with both Robinsons being out with injuries. You know what you have in Cash Jones. You know what you have in Nate Frazier. That opened up a lot of opportunity for him to get some run and some reps. They found some pockets last year for him to get some totes, but I think it was big for him to get a big rep share during this spring, because I think we're going to find out that he's going to have a bit of an expanded role this year.
We were talking about Georgia potentially, or at least in my opinion, in the need for an interior swing player. Braden Joyner is an interior offensive lineman that just hit the portal, freshman All-American last year at Auburn. He's got 3 years of eligibility remaining. The only reason I mentioned him is because I know for a fact Georgia was heavily involved in the high school recruitment, which it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb to me because this is a sawed-off football player. He's 6'2". I mean, he's not very big, and Georgia recruits big only. Yeah. But this kid was so talented and such a good interior offensive lineman at a high school that they kind of ignored the height and weight. Because he is very sawed off. I mean, all of 6'2", all of 320 pounds. I mean, he was fire hydrant. Where were we at? On my list now?
No,
yes.
I got 2 more. My third one, Jordan Hall. Again, another guy that kind of benefited from there being some injuries in the room with Kristen Miller being out this spring, but also knowing that Jordan Hall is going to have to step up this year. It was going to, someone in that interior defensive line group was going to have to figure something out and get ready to play a big role on this defense. Jordan Hall became that name, especially after Josh Jarrett entered the portal. So a big spring and opportunity for him this year to get reps, and I think that it was very beneficial for him to get that experience. And then my final one, Juan Gaston, specifically because not only did we learn that this guy is a dude and that he is going to be great, but also that he will play guard, and Georgia is open to playing him at guard. Yeah. So now you have one of these players, and we talked about this some during the offseason, of Georgia kind of is missing this player that can play tackle or could play guard for you if you need it. Seems like Juan Gaston might be that for you.
All right, I got a five spot right here. Number one winner from the spring, or at least player who benefited most from the spring. Number one, Ryan Puglisi. Needed it bad. Needed practice time. Needed those good split ones reps. Even if he only got 30% of the ones reps this spring, it was a good opportunity for him to be exposed and developed at a much higher rate. Considering he didn't get to go through spring practice last year because of injuries. If I seem distracted, I'm trying to confirm something with a source right about now. Number two, Gunner and his receivers as a whole. Just building the rapport, right? Getting those new guys in, getting practice reps with them. That's a tremendous win for the University of Georgia this spring. Number three, from a developmental standpoint, and I thought he played really well, Bo Hewley. I thought Bo Hewley's a big winner this spring. Needed to put on weight, and it looked to me like he has put on that needed weight. Let me finish this up real quick.
Would you like to carry on that conversation a bit, Christian?
Yeah, well, what are your thoughts on this, Jay? Well,
I mean, I certainly think that the gunner and the wide receiver conversation of them collectively as a whole is a big one, because you always talk about rapport, And especially kind of considering what we kind of believe happened a little bit last year.
Number 4, Quintavious Johnson, big winner from the spring, got an opportunity because of JJA's injury and Gabe Harris's injury this spring, or surgery this offseason rather, to play both defensive end and jack, a position that he's going, or two positions rather, that they're probably going to need him to play this fall and do so at a really, really high rate. Now, the number 5 major, like this was huge for him this spring and he benefited tremendously from it, is Dalen Everett. Dalen didn't get to practice this spring, obviously. He had a sports hernia, but this is a football player who I think needed to be put into a position where the only way you can be of service to us this spring and the only way you can develop and the only way you can make us better is if you use your voice, right? You use your leadership platform. You invest time in developing the people behind you. And I really do think he spoke to this in his player availability and media availability. The idea that the only way for me to impact the roster is with my voice, and that almost has helped me see the game at a much slower rate. I think he's a big winner in a development area that he needed to have developed, and it was force-fed to him.
That is
I like that approach.
That is not one I thought we would have on the list. I mean, obviously for reasons we talked about, Dalen Everett doesn't really need the reps. He's a guy that's been on this program for a long time. He's got 2 years worth of starts now, so wasn't necessarily going to need springtime, but it's interesting that he kind of took a different approach to it this year from a leadership standpoint, because we talked about how that is something that is very much needed.
Shall we set the props, gentlemen?
I like this.
Let's do it.
It's post-spring prop setting right here. Here's how it's going to work. I'm going to give a player and a stat. We're going to set the line for what we think that player is going to do. For example, Gunnar Stockton, passing yards. I'm setting the line at 3,000 yards.
That's where I set it. I said at a smooth 3,000. I'll say slightly over.
I will too. I think he's going for 3,100 this year.
I'm going to go 32.
And by the way, these are regular season stats. Okay, so these are the 13 regular season games. I think we're going to think 3,100 yards over eclipses that 3,000 yard mark. We're all in the same range, though. We don't see a 4,000 yard season.
Nah.
Okay, I think it's still too high.
I would be shocked if Gunnar. There's been one Georgia quarterback.
2.
No, he came up just short.
Stetson didn't throw for 4?
No,
Stetson's
he
the only
did.
one.
He's the only
Carson
one.
threw. Oh, in the regular season.
No, Carson
Never did.
Really?
Came up short.
Huh.
He would have done it had Georgia. Well, no.
Had he not gotten hurt.
Oh, no, he wouldn't have done it this year. He had more yards.
Had Georgia made the playoff and made a national title, he definitely would have done it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Similar to how Stetson Bennett did it. But
I think the average game stat line, I don't know why I say it like that. The average game stat line for Gunnar Stockton is going to be 240 yards passing and 35 yards rushing. And the offense puts up 500 yards of total offense.
I like that. I think that's respectable.
Yeah.
35 rushing might be generous.
Yeah.
Because you're not accounting for sacks.
But yeah. I don't, they need to do away with
So
that.
stupid.
I don't understand why they do that.
I don't understand.
Sack yardage should be a total separate category.
Yeah.
And it would give me an indication of your offensive line play as well.
Yep.
If we're out here leading the nation in sack yardage every year, I'm going to look at you kind of funny. All right. Over under for Stockton rushing yards. I set this at 335.
Kind of went a little over that.
I went like 420.
Yeah, I put it at 450.
Nice, bro.
I didn't even intentionally do that until I said it. I was like, oh shit. But yeah, no. I think anywhere from 350 to 450 is a pretty good number.
By the way, he projected 420 divided by 12 regular season football games. That's 35 yards.
Okay.
So I'm just that good at math, dude.
Well, you just balked at 35. You said that's a lot considering sack yardage.
I said it was like pretty generous, but
Yeah. As generous as 420. Shaka bra. So we all think north of 335.
I think he'll.
The line's probably right,
I think that I
375.
kind of overlaunched just a little bit more than I thought. So I think that somewhere in the 300s is a safe bet.
How about Nate Frazier rushing yards? I set it at 975.
Oh,
That's tough, isn't it?
if they get
That's a tough ass line.
I said like 800. That's kind of what I was
I'm
thinking.
gonna go in the 800 as well.
I didn't want to temper expectations that bad. I wanted to set them high.
Well,
You know,
that's fine.
Nate Frazier 800 yards is like, I think that's a disappointing season.
You did.
Disappointing.
Yeah, I'm expecting 900 yards from him this
They're
year.
never gonna let a running back carry the ball that much, though. The days where it's Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel, Elijah
We're 4
Holyfield.
years removed from DeAndre Swift.
We're DeAndre Swift and Elijah
Are we 5
Holyfield.
years removed from that?
Yeah, 2019 was his.
Holy cow.
We're going on 6. The days of it's the 1-2 punch and we got our guy and the other guy's coming right behind him is over. Like they rotate 3 now.
Yeah.
It's been that way since 2021, where it was James Cook, Zamir White, and Kendall Milton.
Don't forget Brian Harriet.
That was Brian Herring was last year was 2019. But that again goes to your point of the 3-headed snake of Brian Herring and DeAndre Swift.
Do you remember where you were during the Brian Harriet catch against Florida?
Yes, I
I was
do.
in my living room.
I was in the box.
Out back behind my house.
Hell yeah.
Congratulations, man. I was in my living room. I was the only one watching for some reason. I was like, holy shit, he caught that.
All right, this isn't a prop. This is more of a projection. The player to go for 1K in the receiver room, who is it? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Zion.
Colby Young. You went Zachariah Branch?
Zachariah Branch. My bad.
Huh. We went Colby Young. You went Zach Branch. So why Zach Branch?
Because he's going to get the majority of open now reps. Like
Yeah.
Colby Young very clearly set himself apart as the 50-50 guy, the jump ball guy. Like, hey, we need a big explosive play here, and he can absolutely be that. But I think if you're looking for the get open now, he still can take the top off your head. Zachariah Branch is your answer.
I went with Colby because I think he's going to have the most explosive plays in this offense. And last year we saw what that did for a player. Arian Smith was the explosive guy. And despite anything you want to say about him, he still led the team in receiving yards. And I kind of envision, and this might just be the past with Georgia and like a slot receiver like a Dominic Lovett. I think Zachariah Branch will put up some better numbers than maybe what Dom Lovett did. But it's hard for me to envision a slot receiver at Georgia doing that.
I think it's very reasonable to expect that Colby Young can have 9 games next year where he goes 7 for 110.
That's a lot.
I know, but it's 1,000 yards right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking potentially 2 deep balls.
Yeah, basically in a hitch.
Yeah.
After we ran you off, we're going to get a hitch. And that's it. Boom, bang. I mean, he could go 3 for 110.
Yeah. That's literally what Arian
know what I
did
mean?
multiple times. I feel like
I'm with you that I think Zachariah Branch leads his team in receptions.
Yes.
I'm with you there. I think the first to 1,000 has an opportunity to be Colby.
Yeah.
There's going to be more than one?
No. But I think if I had to bet on who's going to a K, it's going to be Colby Young.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like a 45 receptions for 850 for Zach Branch.
Let's also not discount the fact that he's not your only X body here, and we
That's
saw
true.
none
sure,
of
that's
Noah
true.
Thomas so far. So I mean, if Noah Thomas comes in and he's everything that we thought he was as well, you're immediately cutting Colby Young's reps in half.
Similar discussion on the defensive side of the ball. Who's going to be their leading sack artist this year?
Based on
I said Gabe Harris at 6.5 sacks.
It feels like the safe one.
I think this is a team-oriented pass rush this year.
Yeah. That's why I almost want to go lower.
This feels much like the. I don't want to say less talented, but I mean objectively
The
speaking,
no-name Georgia defense.
the less talented version of 2021, where it's they've got so much talent everywhere, but no one's really shining. Yeah, Trayvon Walker is a future first-round pick, but he's not lighting the world on fire. Yeah, there's Nolan Smith. Yeah, there's Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt and all these really, really talented guys, but no one's really excelling and being like, oh, that's the star pass rush guy. It was kind of by committee, and I think that's kind of what you're going to see this year to a lesser extent. I mean, I don't want to besmirch the Georgia roster this year, but I don't think there's 5 future first-round draft picks on the interior defensive line. I don't think you'll ever see that again.
Yeah.
So.
I would go Gabe Harris, but kind of going off of that, I probably would put it somewhere like 5.5.
Yeah.
I think it could be like multiple guys get to 4 or 5, and you don't have a bad year in that department, but it's just kind of a group effort.
I think if you have 2 defensive players with more than 5 sacks this year, was a really, really good year.
Yeah. Who's going to lead the team in pass breakups this year? PBUs.
That's such a hard one to.
I think it's pretty easy.
I'm going to go CJ Allen.
So I went Dalen Everett just because he's going to be so I thought about this multiple ways. Dalen's going to be known as the better corner, okay, their best corner. And historically, that means the other guy gets attacked. That's what it always has been for Georgia. Last year, 2 years ago, Dalen was that guy because Kamari was on the field. Last year, it was the guy opposite of Dalen. This year, it's going to be that again. Yep. That guy's going to get the majority of the target share. However, I went with Dalen as the answer because I think they're going to rotate the other corner. I think Daniel Harris and Ellis Robinson are going to play a good bit at the other spot, and it's going to be a constant rotation. I don't think Jonah Aguero is going to have a bunch of ball production. I don't think KJ Bolden's going to have a bunch of ball production. I think it's going to be Dalen Everett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good call there.
You got high eyebrows over there. What you got high eyebrows for?
CJ Allen led the team in pass breakups last year.
Hell yeah.
You know who second?
Malachi Starks.
Julian Humphrey.
Really?
Third, Smile Monday.
Well, the Julian Humphrey stat would check out in the terms of they were attacking the other corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know? CJ Allen with a lot of PBUs is a little bit surprising.
So maybe a little Chris Cole?
I'm going CJ Allen. I'm going CJ Allen because, like we said, like the linebackers are going to be covering the middle of the field. Most of the time, you want to pass over the middle of the field. And by the way, they're guys that come on blitzes more often than not, so they have more opportunities. Like you only get a pass breakup opportunity as a defensive back if the ball is thrown your way. The quarterback can try to be throwing over you as a linebacker.
It's a big fact. And added rush. If you're a mug rush, or if you're like a late add-on, like a green dog, you're normally going to be the one to get your hands up because you're not engaged with the offensive lineman. It's a good point there. Cryptic ass response to that one. Cryptic ass response. I said, player name redacted, an actual flip target. Parents tried to get me to interview him this weekend. Maybe. Might as well be a yes. We're going to treat it as a yes. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. We're going to give it a Patreon after the show. Patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Projected number of regular season starts. Ellis Robinson.
Oh, this is tough.
I went 7.
Oh,
all right.
Same note.
All right.
I went 7. Now, this could be due to injury or due to starts.
Yeah. I just kind of
automatically a 2, so just give him 3 starts off of injury.
I just kind of went with the same track of what last season went.
Yeah.
Where Julian was the starter for like the first 4 or 5 games, and then like literally midway through the season, it became Daniel Harris now has this job.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Daniel Harris was suspended for the first
game.
Was he?
Yeah.
I think he was a...
No. He didn't get suspended.
No, he
got arrested after the Florida game.
Kentucky game, I thought.
Or whatever.
I think
it was Kentucky weekend because then they were like, he still made the trip, but he didn't play.
Yeah.
And then Florida was when he started being the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a period of time where Daniel Harris wasn't playing due to external circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But I'll go 6, just play it safe. Like, and I think that's the best way to categorize. Like, 50-50 chance I know who starts at there.
All right, on to Juan Gaston. I set this number at 5.
Yeah, I put 6.
Yeah. I think this has more to do with injury than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, that being said, I wouldn't rule out Juan Gaston winning the right guard spot by like mid-October.
That's why
I'll say this. I think Juan Gaston appears in 9 to 10 games this year.
Oh yeah.
With the ones, not just like he's getting garbage reps.
Oh yeah.
And I played into this because
ain't no red shirt for Juan Gaston this year. I'm gonna let you know.
I played into this because it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's a tackle that misses 3 games, there's a guard that misses 3 games, and Juan Gaston fills in both times.
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
All right, Zion Branch. I set this number at 9.
Give me 8 with that.
I put 8 as well. That's what I put.
I think like after the first 3 games, Zion Branch might be starting at safety.
I could see it being like first 2 games, Ja'Cory, and then the third game, what is the third game? It's Tennessee. Tennessee's third game, right? Tennessee, Ja'Cory still gets to start, but you might see Zion Branch kind of start stealing the show a little bit, and then after that,
we might also just be kind of a safety by committee like they did in 21 with the star position, where it's sometimes we'll put out Dan Jackson, sometimes Tavius Brini, sometimes it's William Poole. It's just whatever we think is the best matchup for what we have right now. So,
how about Adrian Maddox?
I put like 4.
I put it at 5.
It's hard for me to envision him really getting some.
Here's
starts.
why I did it. Jonell's been hurt 3 years in a row. It's been hamstring. It's been wasp on the hand. Right, he played half the last year with a cast
targeting
on his hand and targetings.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
He's a headhunter.
Yep. So I think Adrian Maddox was a much needed addition in that room. Best thing you heard all spring? What was it?
Juan Gaston is going to be great and is open to play multiple spots at offensive line. That was the best.
That got
thing.
you Randy, huh?
Oh, yeah. I like hearing a little swingage action in the offensive line room.
Yeah.
Big old fella.
Swingage action.
I like it.
Getting you, Randy.
For the first time in honestly a long time as a Georgia fan and someone who covers the sport, you're not only hearing about how, one, the fan base is behind the quarterback and the team is behind the quarterback. Not to say in the past the team didn't ride behind Carson Beck or Stetson Bennett, but I mean, there were times where people were like, I don't know about the Stetson Bennett guy. I think he should have stayed back. There were times when people were kind of like, we'll see what Carson Beck. For the first time in a while, you're hearing from the camp that, hey, everyone loves Gunnar Stockton. And for the most part, the temperature on the fan base is also, hey, we really like Gunnar Stockton. We really believe in this guy. Especially with all the NIL drama that's going on. You know, having a guy like Gunnar Stockton where he's very clearly just loves playing for Georgia is very, very cool.
I'm going to stick with Gunnar. I loved that. I loved not only hearing, but also seeing it confirmed during G-Day. I loved hearing that Gunnar Stockton was hunting downfield and then seeing that play out during G-Day to an explosive measure. Appreciate you guys for being here. If you haven't already, hit that subscription button on your way out. Definitely hit that thumbs up button. Fire off in the chat one last time. Appreciate all the super chubs tonight. We will be back Thursday. No midday stream tomorrow. I've got some things to take care of. Appreciate y'all for being here. What's
Closing on my house anyway, so that works.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations.
Gotcha. Well,
Closing on the
thank
house. Some adult shit going on there.
Yeah.
Don't ask for a raise. I'm just kidding. Appreciate you guys for being here. We'll see you.